हेलो एंड वेलकम टू श्रीराम IAS। आप सब लोग ने बहुत बार ये सुना होगा दैट टैक्स वर्ड एक्चुअली इमर्ज्ड फ्रॉम फ्रांस एंड आप सब लोग ने ये भी सुना होगा दैट फ्रांस रेवोल्यूशन और फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन जिसको हम बोलते हैं, फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन बेसिकली वाज अ रेवोल्यूशन which was inspired by the inequality in terms of the three estates. That is, the two estates were to pay and bear the burden of the third estate. And understand this thing कि जो सबसे lower strata, जो सबसे poor people थे, जो काम कर रहे थे, जो traders थे, उन्हीं को टैक्स पे करना पड़ रहा था, and that is why they revolted. This started the liberty, fraternity and equality. We all have been well aware of this in polity. But yes, there is one more thing which we need to understand that has emerged from France itself. That is the Zucman Tax. What is this Zucman Tax and why should we understand it? Because from UPSC perspective, the wealth tax has to be understood very well. Because if you understand wealth tax, because this is the tax which we in India were imposing till 2017 और 2016 के आते आते हमने इस वेल्थ टैक्स को भी बंद कर दिया। क्यों? बिकॉज इंडिया थॉट एंड इंडिया एनालाइज दिस थिंग दैट हमें यहाँ पे एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कॉस्ट ज़्यादा लग रहा है बजाय इसके कि हमारा जो रेवेन्यू आ रहा है इस टैक्स की वजह से। So come, let's understand what is this Zucman tax and what is actually the wealth tax. Basically, there is an economist, a French economist whose name is Gabriel Zucman. He proposed that the most top billionaires or the wealthy class of population which has a wealth of more than 100 million euros should be taxed at 2%. उनकी वेल्थ के ऊपर टैक्स लगना चाहिए। कितना टैक्स? 2% का टैक्स। Now let's understand what will be the impact of this wealth tax and why only the top 2%. Why is Zucman on this decision that there should be only 2% of the tax? ठीक है। And why wealth tax? What is the difference between wealth and income tax? So let's go to microeconomics first. We have read the concept of stock and flow variables. Wealth is actually a stock variable and wealth tax is a direct tax. Wealth tax is a direct tax and he has proposed that वो लोग जिनकी wealth already accumulated wealth है, not income. Income too is a direct tax, but income is calculated, it is a flow variable. Income is calculated over the period of time, while as wealth is calculated at a point of time. Understood यहाँ तक? अगर ये चीज समझ में आ गई हो तभी आपको समझ में आएगा that this 2% is not on wealth but on income. ठीक है? So what makes this tax different is first, it is an tax based on wealth and not on income, and hereby you need to understand that wealth actually has property, cash, investments and not the annual earnings. UPSC might confuse you on this word, that is annual earnings. Understood? Next, this tax will be targeted or it will target the subscribers of this tax will be the ultra rich people. Zucman tax, those people who have a worth or assets of more than 100 million euros, that is around 118 million dollars in France, उनके ऊपर लगेगा ये 2% का टैक्स। Plus there will be direct impact of this tax on around 1800 households in France. Now these households, अगर किसी भी population पे किसी भी डेमोग्राफी के ऊपर कोई टैक्स लगता है, उन्होंने वो लाइबिलिटी पे करनी है, टैक्स लाइबिलिटी, so therefore there will be a kind of resentment in that group. But yes, the group of billionaires is somehow less. However, the economic power which stands with these billionaires is too much. Now we need to understand what are the fallouts of this tax. How will this help France government and how will this be a disadvantage for the government of France also? What are the pros and what are the cons of this? So let's move forward. The potential of this tax will be that ये टैक्स की वजह से फ्रांस गवर्नमेंट को अराउंड 20 बिलियन यूरोस का फायदा हो सकता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ टैक्स रेवेन्यू। 20 बिलियन यूरोस फ्रांस गवर्नमेंट कलेक्ट कर सकती है इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेवेन्यू। 2% टैक्स रेट, एनुअल टैक्स रेट ऑन बिलियनियर्स ऑफ net worth more than 100 million euros will target these 1800 France's rich families or richest families of the France। अगर ये चीज समझ में आ गई है दैट इतना रेवेन्यू का पोटेंशियल है इस टैक्स का, तब ये भी समझ में आ जाएगा दैट फ्रांस ये चीज क्यों कर रही होगी। Why is France ardent or why is Gabriel Zucman telling us that we should collect 20 billion euros from the richest group? Why? Because first, the incidence and impact of this tax will be low as proportion to the wealth they hold. Second, this will also help government of France in fulfilling their demand and in fulfilling or paying their fiscal deficit. Okay. Now let's understand the economy of France. Why 2% matters? Because this 2% matches what the income group below the billionaires is paying. So the tax amount will be somehow similar to both the groups, that is less than billionaires and more than billionaires. This also prevents regression. How? Because below the 2% will preserve the current tax advantages of ultra rich people. कि अगर 2% से कम टैक्स लगाते तब उतना फायदा नहीं होगा, because they will somehow manage that tax and manage that tax rate, and the ultra rich people have this advantage also that they can manipulate their wealth, they can re-evaluate their wealth, they can invest in different assets, and that is what creates the problems for accounting. And therefore the certain problems with property tax were also observed in India also. Earlier we had a 3% of property tax in India that was stopped in 2016. So therefore, the concept of this taxation, on which not only it emerged from France, not only the Zucman tax, but the word tax itself was emerged from France. Further, we also need to remember one more thing, that is the taxation per se was the major, or I can say one of the biggest causes of French Revolution, which gave world the newer ideas. Further, हमें और क्या समझना है, that it will ensure two things. One is the fairness in tax, another is tax regression. This will prevent the regressive taxation. Understood? Next, one more thing जो हमें समझनी है, that is actually the people or the population demography of France, are they really liking this or are they in support of it? So there was a study done by one of the independent institutions in France which said that not only the population of France is supporting in terms of 86%, but also even the members of Macron's party are also supporting this taxation reform. That is Zucman tax लगाना चाहिए, ऐसा फ्रांस की गवर्नमेंट बोल नहीं रही है, ऐसा फ्रांस की जो मेजर गवर्नमेंट पार्टी है मैक्रोन की पार्टी वो बोल रही है, उसके मेंबर बोल रहे हैं. But the problem is that this tax is somehow apprehensive to economists also, because economists say that अगर आप इन बिलियनियर्स के ऊपर टैक्स लगाओगे तो देयर विल बी कैपिटल फ्लाइट. अब कैपिटल फ्लाइट क्या होती है, आई विल टेल यू. नाउ अंडरस्टैंड वन मोर थिंग, दैट इज this will lead to the resentment from opposition or the resentment from the elite opposition. These billionaires will now start what? They will start the resentment, they will start the opposition. कैसे? There is this person named as Bernard Arnault. He says that ये जो टैक्स लग रहा है, it is an attack on the French economy. क्यों है ये अटैक ऑन फ्रेंच इकोनॉमी? बिकॉज अगर हम पैसा कमा रहे हैं, अगर हमारे पास वेल्थ है, इट मीन्स वी आर बीइंग टैक्स्ड ओनली बिकॉज वी आर अर्निंग मोर, ओनली बिकॉज वी हैव लिव्ड टू दिस एक्सटेंट, वी हैव मेड contributions to the economy of France, and now there is actually we are being disincentivized in terms of earning more. That is one problem. Therefore, if you are taxing these billionaires, what will happen? what will happen? They will try to find another countries where there will be no such property tax, no such wealth tax on them. So therefore, the capital from these from the jurisdiction of France will transfer and will move from France to some other countries. Maybe they will go to another country and they will purchase their assets there. They will not purchase assets, they will not purchase land, they will not purchase cash, they will not have government security, they will not invest in shares of France. Rather, what they will do is they will invest these things somewhere else. They will invest most probably in some other European nation, most probably in Nordic countries or USA or somewhere else, because they won't be taxed there. That is one thing which will be a disadvantage for France government. Further, the climate of investment, that is कि entrepreneurship कितनी ज़्यादा होगी, investment जितनी ज़्यादा होगी उतना ही growth होगा. That is the basic thing which we read in economics. हमें यहाँ पे ये भी याद रखना है कि अगर आप इतना complex business structure बनाते हो, this will lead to what? If there are complexities in the business structure, this will harm the environment of business. Therefore, there will be less ease of doing in business in France. That is going to hamper the economy of France. That is why Bernard Arnault says that it is an attack on the French economy. Understood? Chalo. Last में one more thing, that it will lead to exodus, but yes, the claims are somehow. However, there has been a study that actual में जो लोग जाएंगे फ्रांस से, that will be around 0.03% only, and not all the billionaires will move out. Understood यहाँ तक? अब एक और चीज समझनी है यहाँ पे, फ्रांस का फिस्कल क्राइसिस, जो फ्रांस में अभी फिस्कल क्राइसिस चल रहा है, उसकी वजह से ये टैक्स लगाया जा रहा है या ये टैक्स प्रपोज किया जा रहा है कि इसको लगाया जा सकता है. क्या हो रहा है? फ्रांस की गवर्नमेंट का जो अभी पब्लिक डेट है, दैट इज 114% ऑफ जीडीपी. वंस यूपीएससी आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन ऑन डेट टू जीडीपी रेशियो, you need to understand what is debt to GDP ratio. That is one thing. So therefore, this huge debt on GDP will be piling up because the interest payments will also increase. That is a problem. One more thing you need to remember is annual deficits. फ्रांस में जो फिस्कल डेफिसिट या फ्रांस का जो डेफिसिट अभी चल रहा है, which according to European Union limit should be 3%, is 5.8%. तो फ्रांस का is just around double. 3% डेफिसिट हो सकता है जीडीपी में, बट फ्रांस का डेफिसिट is 5.8%. That is a problem. One more thing which France government is facing, that is government is spending around 57% of GDP only out of 44% of its tax revenue. ठीक है, 44% of the tax revenue. Now understand the plight, the fiscal plight of French government, and that is why new avenues of taxation are being looked upon too. Understood? Now one more thing which France has been facing. One was pandemic का impact. ये तो सब countries में आ गया because of massive government spendings on healthcare and all. Second, one more problem which France faced was in 2022. That was energy crisis. अभी एनर्जी क्राइसिस कैसे हुआ? आपको याद होगा अभी कुछ टाइम पहले ही, इवन मेरे ही न्यूज़पेपर सेशंस में मैंने डिस्कस किया था कि फ्रांस में एक बहुत ही बड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो गई थी, दैट अ स्टार फिश, दिस स्टार फिश एक्चुअली लेड टू शट डाउन ऑफ न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स ऑफ फ्रांस. कुछ न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स फ्रांस में शट डाउन करने पड़े, बट दैट वाज माइनर थिंग. 2022 से लेके अभी तक फ्रांस में जो न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स हैं उनमें से बहुत सारे न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर्स को स्टॉप करना पड़ा काफ़ी हद तक, जिसकी वजह से एनर्जी क्राइसिस हुआ और जिसकी वजह से फ्रांस गवर्नमेंट को और ज़्यादा एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट बियर करना पड़ा. वन मोर थिंग, राइजिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट्स वेर देयर, दैट इज अराउंड 67 बिलियन यूरोज पर ईयर आर बीइंग पेड इन बोरोइंग्स ओनली. ठीक है, ये बोरोइंग्स का कॉस्ट है फ्रांस गवर्नमेंट का 67 बिलियन यूरोज. Further, there is political instability because 3 governments toppled by austerity failures. 3 गवर्नमेंट्स का फेलियर हो गया अभी पास में ही फ्रांस में. So therefore, not only political instability, not only economic instability is there, but other reasons are also there जिसकी वजह से ये चीज हो रही है. Understood? Clear है यहाँ तक? Last में, so the bottom line will be, last का line, that is हमने आज तक अभी तक क्या क्या सीखा. हमने ये देखा that एक नया टैक्स का प्रपोजल आ रहा है, that is known as Zucman Tax, which is proposing that we should impose a 2% tax rate on those who have more than 100 million euros of wealth. If they have, they will be taxed at 2% tax rate. Why only 2%? Because this will ensure tax fairness. हाँ, अब इसकी वजह से क्या होगा? France government can collect 20 billion euros of tax revenue. Once they collect it, they will use it. Why they will use it? Because they have fiscal deficit. They have huge government debt. Their debt to GDP ratio is around 117%. So that is all we read in this video. I hope you like this video and you will share this video with all of the fraternity which we have for UPSC. Thank you. This was Shansha from SRIRAM IAS. Jai Hind.